Welcome, everybody. So today the PM announced the lifting of the MCO, or at least the limiting of the MCO. This program was prepared or was planned some time ago, but still I think the topic today is relevant, and we'll also be talking about what are your rights vis-a-vis the police powers and such things. So to discuss about what are your rights in relation to the MCO violation, we have a very prominent lawyer with us tonight. He has handled many high-profile cases. You would have read those cases in the papers. So I would like to welcome Mr. Sreekant Pillai. Hi, welcome.
Hi, how are you? Yeah, I'm good.
Good. Okay, Sreekant, just a bit further. I think that because of the lighting, just a bit further.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so okay. I strongly believe that everyone should follow the MCO movement control order, but sometimes, as it happens, you know, the law is there, but we will do some cases will fall through the cracks, and due to some circumstances, you might find yourself at the wrong side of the law. And to explain what are your rights, we have here Sreekant Pillai. Okay, the first question before I even talk about our rights, what is the provision of law upon which the government has imposed the MCO? Every action of the government must have a legal basis. So what is the legal basis for MCO? Can you please explain?
Okay, the power of the government it's under the Prevention and Control of Infectious Disease Act, 1988, where the minister has the power to make such an order, like a movement control order, based on the situation like what we have right now, which is the coronavirus infection that's going on throughout the world, actually. So that's where the power comes from. And then they have to gazette that particular order each time they come out with an order. Like, for instance, 18th of March to sometime in April, I can't remember the date. So they would have to gazette that. And if they come up with further orders, those orders have to be gazetted. So the latest one has already been gazetted until the 12th of May. I just checked just now before we started this talk. So that's where the power comes from. And a little something just before I carry on some more. The MCO has not been lifted, even after today's news by the Prime Minister in his speech saying that economic sectors can open and certain sectors can open, and everything will be done in stages. But MCO is still a valid order. We still need to be home by 8 p.m. The order has not been lifted yet. So I still consider the MCO valid. So I think we still have to follow it. And of course, with the news like this, everybody's going to get a bit more excited and think, oh, we can go out and we can do what we want. And, we can go to shop, we can go shopping, we can go to the restaurant and eat. And I think all that comes in stages. So I don't, even though the Prime Minister said that you can go to restaurants and you can open up businesses, I think there's also certain guidelines and standard operating procedures that they need to follow. Having said that, the MCO is still valid, so you can still be in violation if you're not going to you're not going out for work, and if you're just going out to Lepa or Sembang or whatever, it's still it's still a violation, so you still fall under that. So yeah, that's where the order comes from, under the Infectious and Control Disease Infectious Disease Act.
Okay, say for instance, for some reason, you have gone out and the authorities they find you that you don't have a valid reason, and what can they do? What is the authority they have, and what can you do to protect yourself?
Okay. All right. So, I mean, not to say, I think all of us are law-abiding citizens. I think we all try and do our very best to act within the law. But of course, this is a circumstance where anybody can be in violation of the MCO. I think currently, so far, there's been about 15,000 people that has been arrested just for violating the MCO alone. Actually, when you're caught violating MCO, first there are a couple of stages lah. Here, I think you'll be caught, most likely be caught in a police block, I would say. Right? So they'll stop you at a police block, and I've been stopped at a police block too. Not that I was violating; I was going shopping to groceries. But actually, they're pretty fair in the sense that they would check. I mean, what my experience is, I've heard from others with bad experience as well. But from my experience, the police are doing their job. So they check and find out where you're going. If you're going for shopping, they let you go, right? But of course, there'll be instances where people might not have an answer. They might want to go out and see their girlfriend, or they might have to go out and, they might say, I'm going to work, but they don't have the proper documentation to support the reason that they're out. The first and foremost thing that we all have to remember is not engage with the police. If you've done something wrong, you'll have to accept it, or you have to talk to them, and you have to see where it ends out at the end of the day. Because on top of being charged for MCO violations, a lot of people are also being charged for obstructing the police officer from doing his duty. Now, that's a completely different offense, and that would be a higher fine. They might even carry a higher sentence. So this is what happens. I mean, I've had calls from people that calls me and ask me, what do they do? Because they've actually been fighting with the police. They've had a war word with the police, and the police will come out and say, catch them and say, oh, give me your name, give me your IC, and then they might call you later and charge you for violation of the MCO, and also for obstruction of police officer's duty. So the first thing you need to do is just calm down. I mean, we all have cabin fever, staying at home for so long. I'm sure a lot of us just want to go out there and have a fight with somebody, which is, some people might love that, But the whole idea is to calm down and to find out exactly what the police want. Because sometimes there are instances where they just let you go. They give you a warning. They just say, you know what, don't do it again. Just come back another day. But don't do it again. Don't come back and do this again. I don't want to see you again. That kind of stuff. So there are police officers that do that. But there are certain situations where the police officers might be strict and say, no, you violated the MCO. You need to be charged, or you need to be arrested. We need to take your details down. Sometimes what they'll do is they'll just take your details down, their phone number down, your IC down. They'll call you later and say you need to attend court. That has happened. That means they don't take you to the police station, nothing. There are instances where they take you to the police station. And then when they take you to the police station, there's also they'll just take your details down, maybe take a short statement from you, ask you to go home. That's the second instance that can happen. The third instance, of course, if there is violation of, if it's obstruction of police officer's duty, they feel that something more than the MCO violation has happened. For example, if one of them have pushed the police officer, or assaulted the police officer, or scolded the police officer, that goes into another charge altogether. And then you come to another big mess. So they might actually arrest you. They can arrest you. They can put you in a lockup for 24 hours. They can also take you to magistrate the next day and extend your remand if they want. Of course, I don't agree with all that, but that's the power they have. They can do it. They can ask for an extension of remand. They can put you in for another 3 days or 2 days. I mean, all of things that I don't agree with, but this is what the power they have. They can do. So this is what happens when you get arrested. It's actually common. And then during these times, because it's an MCO violation case, most people get arrested would still have their handphones with them. So they have mobile phones. They can call up whoever it is. They can call lawyers up. They can call family up and say, look, I've been arrested. I'm in this police station. What do I do? Right? These are situations that happens in an arrest for an MCO violation, of course. But I mean, as I see, policemen are human as well. So there are instances where they might just let you go. So there might not be even any charge. But this is the worst case scenario that I'm talking about, right? So once you're brought into the police station and given a remand order for 24 hours. You'll be brought to a magistrate the next day within 24 hours, and they will request for for remand for the purpose of investigation. This is when people need to actually find lawyers to actually argue the case. And in cases in Malaysia right now, there are legal aid lawyers that are always present in the magistrate courts. So they are YBGK lawyers, they call them. Yayasan Kebajikan, Peguaman, they have legal aid lawyers that actually argue remand cases for anybody. It doesn't matter whether you're entitled to legal aid or not. So that service is provided. And when that happens, the magistrate will look into your case based on each facts. That's what they're supposed to do. And they would either let you go and say no remand is given. That means you won't be put in the lockup. Or they will give you a remand order of a day or 2 days or 3 days, depending on how serious the offense is. In terms of, for me, for MCO violations, there shouldn't be any remand because it's a straightforward thing. But sometimes there are instances where I read in the papers and I've seen and facts that people are actually arrested and they're put in remand for 2-3 days. That would also mean they probably have another case, or they've probably something more than an MCO violation. Normally for MCO violations, there shouldn't be a remand, right?
Okay.
So once that is done, they will, after the remand, they would, a few days or 1 day or 2 days, or even on the same day, they can decide to charge you. So even if you're not on remand, not kept in the police lockup, the investigating officer can call you and request you to turn up in a police station and basically turn up in the police station, and they'll actually tell you to come to court or whether come to the police station or not. And then you come to court and they can charge you then and there before a magistrate. So you can be in remand, you can be in the lockup, or you can be out on a police bail, which the police have allowed you to go home and come back another day. And then you have to turn up and face your charges for MCO. And in the MCO charge, what normally happens is they read the charge out to you. They'll ask you whether you plead guilty or not guilty. Now, this is where a lot of people believe, a lot of people get into all kinds of trouble because when you plead guilty, because the maximum sentence for...
Sorry, can I just pause you for a while? Sure. Just before you go to that point, I just want to ask, earlier you mentioned that there are lawyers who will help you on the legal. How do they avail? Because when they are taken for extension of remand or to be charged, I mean, they're not at liberty to move around. So how do they avail themselves to that service? Cover that and then you can go back to the procedure. Sorry.
Okay. Okay. What happens is the YBGK lawyers are always present in Shalam. They're also in the remand center in Jinjang lockup. They are there. So they're always present in court. They're in PJ court. They're there, so they will be there and they will be given a list of cases that's going on, remand, and they would actually go around and find out. This is a service provided by the government actually. And these lawyers are people like me, lawyers like me. Even I am a registered legal aid lawyer. Even I can do it. When I have time, I'll do it. So it's actually a service that lawyers provide. It's not big pay. It's not big money. It's just experience. A lot of young lawyers do it, and I think it's a very good thing because you get exposure into court and so on. So these lawyers are stationed in certain courts.
Sorry. Carry on with what you were saying earlier.
Okay, so when you get charged, there's always an option. There's an option of pleading guilty and pleading not guilty. A lot of people have pleaded guilty, and I think you've seen the disparity of sentencing that's been going on in just the recent times, right? You've had deputy ministers and Perak Exco members getting a 1,000 ringgit fine, and you've been getting people who are just a normal walking out 30 meters outside their house and getting put in prison for 10 days. So sentencing is something I can't really comment about. I don't think it should even come to this. I feel that it just should be a compound, but it is what it is. And I was in court a few days ago, and the magistrates have been giving fines of 1,000 ringgit for violators who plead guilty. But that's not standard across the board. Another court was giving 800 ringgit fine or 700 ringgit fine. And then we've also have instances where the courts are giving magistrates giving 3 days imprisonment. So it's very hard to say, right? And I think recently we had that case where that single mother got 30 days and it's been overturned and a fine has been given. So pleading guilty, it's a risk. You take a risk, you either pay a fine or you end up spending 3 days in prison. So I for me, I would advise most clients of mine to just plead not guilty, to be honest, because there's always an option for you to plead not guilty.
Okay, no, but why the disparity in sentencing?
This is the thing. I think disparity in sentencing, because it's the discretion of the magistrates. And I think some of the magistrates feel that it's a very serious offense and some of them don't feel it is. And then I think they're going with the, with how the times are going, they go with how the feeling is. And how the government is so strict on the MCO the past couple of weeks. And I think maybe the magistrates also thinking that way, got to teach them a lesson. But I still feel it defeats the purpose. I mean, putting violators in prison, it's just going to make the whole coronavirus thing worse, COVID-19 thing worse. I mean, there's no social distancing when they come to court. All the MCO accused persons are all put together in one place. They're handcuffed together. There's no gloves. There's a mask, but there's no social distancing. There's nothing going on. The courts have not thought about that yet. So I think putting them in prison or putting them in enclosed areas now, I think is not the right thing to do. And I really can't comment on why the sentences are all so weird. I mean, to me, I just think a compoundable offense should be the way forward. But obviously, that's not happening right now. And I think it defeats the whole purpose of a MCO order. If one side you're saying you're violating the MCO, and the other side you've taken all these people and they are put in one cell while waiting to be called up in court, which there's no social distancing, there's nothing. They could be having COVID-19. We have no idea, and we are dealing with them also. So the risk is there. So yeah, so that's the situation. So the inconsistency in sentencing gives it a very difficult position for the accused. And I would say, plead not guilty, fight the case. You'll never know. I mean, what happens.
They might not be able to afford a lawyer.
That's true. But I think there are a lot of lawyers out there, including myself and a few of my friends, who've been doing this for free, for pro bono, on a matter of principle. So the case that I've taken up has been without a fee for that reason, because I think this is a matter of principle. It's not a question of making money anymore when it comes to this. And I think it's a very unfair situation when somebody has been arrested for MCO violation, where I feel that they could just probably give a fine, or they could just give a compound and move on. And there are some instances where I feel even that some of the people who've been arrested might not even be in violation. They might just be outside for a while. They might be, I think there's a lot of things to think about for cases, for people who get charged for cases like this. So I think
there's a case about this elderly gentleman who according to him, he claimed that he went to buy something, but
yes,
he was caught with his sports shoe on, and I think the officer thought that he looked as if he was going for a walk or jog. And I think they arrested him. He was charged and was sentenced. Fine.
He's not sentenced. I think he's been charged and he pleaded not guilty. And
there
was a bit of an issue there. Yeah, he's challenging it because they charged him at 4:30 and he couldn't post bail because the banks were closed and the magistrate refused to let him post bail the next day, and he was actually taken to prison for 1 day, lock up for 1 day, and then he was brought the next day, and he posted bail. So these are things that magistrates have discretion to let you post the bail the next day. I mean, they've allowed that with the former prime minister. I don't see why they can't allow it with people. I mean, you've got to use our discrepancy sometimes, and also even the police. They can also use a little bit of. You got to give a little bit of leeway for certain things. I mean, I even hear certain police blocks don't even allow a son to bring the father for dialysis because the son's name is not in the letter to be able to bring him for dialysis. So you got to go back and bring the person. I mean, you got to be a bit. You have to be a bit reasonable. You got to use a bit of common sense. Sometimes common sense is not a common feature these days. I think we know that, but I think the police got to be able to gauge it instead of just charging everybody. It doesn't make sense to me. I just think it's not.
Yeah,
it's not fair.
I think your powers, your authority must be tempered with compassion and also
discretion. I agree.
Yeah.
Not everybody is in violation. There's probably a reason why people go out without a letter. There's probably a reason why people go out. I mean, not everybody is out there to.
And especially during this time, it's a very challenging time for everybody.
Exactly. Everybody. It is. Everybody is trying their best to adhere to it. I mean, to adhere to the orders. We there's also times when people want to get out and just go for a drive. I mean, I don't blame them because everybody's got, like I said earlier, cabin fever. Everybody's getting all worked up about it.
Okay.
So normally, if you plead, like let me just finish what I was going to say.
Carry on.
So if you plead not guilty, what normally happens is they'll give you a hearing date, or give you another date for them to give you documents and documents with regards to the MCO violation or the documents they're going to use for the trial, for your trial. And this is where the time where you can actually see if you could get the MCO order either reduced or get a lesser sentence, or this is when you decide whether you want to proceed with the trial or whether you want to plead guilty and see if you just can pay a fine. This is when the discussion all happens. So what I've just explained on this MCO violation is actually exactly the same thing that happens in any criminal matter. Of course.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you that.
I mean, it happened. I mean, what the steps that I put through, the procedures that I put through, happens in every criminal case. Of course, it varies with the sentencing. You've got cases which are capital punishment cases, where you don't have any bail. You've got cases where you can have bail. You've got cases where they can refuse bail, but potentially everything is the same. There are times where the remand might be longer. Like, for instance, capital punishment cases, the remand is above 7 days. They can keep you there longer because of the investigation. It's much more serious offense. So this is essentially what it is on criminal matters. So
okay, there's a question from Mr. Ramesh from Taiping. The question is, what is actually meant by violation? The police seems to have their own definition. That is his question. What is meant by violation? When you say violation?
Violation means you go against something. So you violate an order. That means you go against a particular order. That is what I would call as violation. So that's why the topic was MCO violation. What the police define as violation.
Yeah, I think that's what he's asking, I think.
What do the police it's very difficult for me to comment on that because I wouldn't know what they mean. But for me, if you contravene a certain order, you violate it. So that's how I look at it. So I would think the police would have the same definition, unless there's something different. I really wouldn't know.
Okay. If you have, do you have anything else to add on MCO violation?
On MCO violation, it's really quite straightforward. I just made it simple as I could so people could understand. Let's just not
Okay.
make it too complicated.
The reason why I ask is I want to move on to general question of
Please.
law,
Yeah,
especially
sure, you can.
police right. I mean, you do criminal law, so you know
Yes,
these
I do.
things.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's what I do.
And okay, I think the most critical time or the most stressful time for a family or friends is when somebody is detained by police under investigation before he's charged. So I think
Yes.
that investigation period, the remand period, is the most stressful time.
I agree.
What are the rights of the person under detention, and what can the family members do? If you can just advise them.
Right. When the investigation is ongoing, and when the suspect is kept under lockup for that time. Okay, one thing everybody has to understand is this is the time when the police has complete power to have him. That means that's the time they have complete power to investigate the whole case, and there would not be any chance for the family to see the suspect, and this is their free time. So by right, the police officers are supposed to inform the suspect's family that they have arrested him and where he is and where he's kept. This is actually supposed to be done. The police, I say supposed to, because there have been situations where family will be calling me. I will be calling police stations trying to find out where they've been, arrested, which part, it's how in reality it is. But in actual fact, they are supposed to give you that, give the family that knowledge of where they are. So there is a provision in the criminal procedure that actually allows, I'm not going to go into details, I'm just going to tell you, openly so people can understand. That there is a provision that actually allows access to lawyers to actually meet the suspect at the time of investigation, right? Unfortunately, it is also a discretion of the police officer or the police station or the investigating officer to allow that. If they believe that it would not, interfere with the investigations that is ongoing, they would not allow it. So that is what actually happens most of the time. It's very difficult to get access to the suspect at that time when they are arrested. Of course, there are instances where I have had access. It all depends. It really depends. It's discretion. Is how the police officer wants to help you or not, lah. So I think that is the situation. That distress time is always up to the police station whether they want to allow it or not.
Okay. In certain cases, after a person is detained, they will bring him to court and charge him, or they might release him.
Correct.
What is the criteria or the factor they consider, or who decides whether the person is to be charged or not to be charged, and what is the criteria to be considered by the authorities?
All right. Okay. Whether they charge or not charge, the consideration is only the AG's chambers, which is the Attorney General's chambers. They have the power to decide whether they're going to charge somebody or not charge somebody, right? The police officer, the investigating officer, can only suggest that this is what, from the investigation, they feel this is what they, you should charge him under, or they can do a suggestion based on whatever evidence they have they've obtained from their investigation, whether it's by statement, by exhibits, or whatever there is that they have. They can only suggest it. They can suggest, okay, you know what, maybe you could charge under this, or they can recommend this is the charge they should do. But they don't have the power to charge. The power to charge comes from the Attorney General only, and that is where all charges go through. And even if you want charges to be dropped, or you feel that you want the charges to be reduced, you have to actually write and engage with the Attorney General to make that decision. The decision is not in the police hands. A lot of people think the police have the power, but they don't.
sorry. Okay, can you please tell us what is the procedure for bail? In what type of cases bail is granted? What type of cases bail is refused? And who can stand as a bailer?
Okay, so you're asking me what cases where bail can be granted and what cases bail cannot be granted. Is that
What
it?
type of cases? Yeah.
Okay. Cases, well, it would depend on the case, really. Mainly cases with capital punishment, bail is not granted. Cases where sessions court matters, depending on the case, like
Sorry, capital punishment. What does it mean? Because just for
cases, drug trafficking, firearms possession, murder, kidnapping, all those cases, you will not have bail. There are instances where bail has been given, but those are on extreme circumstances, on medical grounds, and so on. I mean, so there are exceptions to it, but across the board, you're not supposed to have bail. You can't get bail for cases like that. For cases where bail would be granted, even then is a discretion. They are non-bailable cases, so they are all on discretion. So it depends on whether the prosecution want to actually even offer bail. Sometimes they won't even offer bail, then it's up to the judge to decide. So cases are different. Like some drug cases, you allow it, like possession cases for drugs. In the sessions court, they don't allow bail at all, but in the magistrate court, they allow bail. Rape cases, they allow bail. So it all depends, and the bail amount is actually only supposed to be to ensure the attendance of the accused. It's not a punishment. It's not a form of punishment. But I find that some of the courts now actually they kind of increase the bail based on what the charges are. By right, that's not how it should be. It should be based on the background of the accused person, whether they can afford it or not afford it. But nowadays they look at the charge. They say, "Oh, this is a cheating case. Or how much did he allegedly take?" And then, this I think I will give this amount. So it has changed over the years. Over the years, it's been based on the charge. But by right, it should be just based on what the accused can afford and whether he can actually make sure he turns up. And the bailor should be somebody. The best should be somebody who's related to the person, or an employer, or somebody who can vouch for his attendance in court the next time. It's a serious offense if you don't actually come to court when you're under bail. They can actually revoke the bail and put you in prison. So it is quite a serious thing.
Okay, thanks. I think you have covered it very well, and you've given a very good explanation with regards to MCO specifically, and also the general law with regards to detention. Okay, before we already passed the half an hour mark, so I think we have to conclude the program. But before that, is there anything else you'd like to touch or say about law?
Generally, not really. I don't have anything unless there's any questions that you want to ask me, then I'm fine. I don't really have anything much to say from there.
Final question. Okay, before I want to go for the final question, tell us a bit about your father. Your father is quite a prominent writer and is quite a well-known person. Sorry, and before that, I just need to comment. I have to do it online. Sorry, Sreekant. Your beard. It's a very unique feature. And I have to tell to the audience that when both of us went for the Rainforest Festival, the foreigners, quite a number of them actually stopped Sreekant and actually took photo of him with his beard, and they took photo with him, and they also took with his beard.
You're going to raise that in this interview, but
I mean, that's what happened, is it? So that's the thing. And okay, now sorry, I have to just
not a tell feature, that. But yeah.
Tell about your father.
Okay, well, I don't know. I mean, father was, he's a writer. He's a really good writer. Actually, his death anniversary just ended on the 28th of April. He's a person that always stood for what is right and wrote what is right. And I think black is black and white is white kind of person. It's always a challenge for him. At the time when he started writing, it was the time where internet wasn't even available. So it was print writing. So getting the message across was much difficult. I could remember the time when he was actually writing on a typewriter and, telexing things across to,
and those days we had all sort of
news
laws.
agencies. Yeah, exactly. So, it was, so he's a person that, that believed in, that, everybody should, he's a political man. So, I mean, he's more interested in politics. So he believed in, a strong opposition always. And, he was not around to see the change of government, but, he'll be happy. But, he's a person who believed in, there being a strong opposition, and there should always be things should be done right, and an idealistic man. That's what he is.
But it's good to see the son is following up on his father's footsteps.
Oh, I'm way
Not in politics.
Oh, I'm way behind.
His footsteps in defending the downtrodden and the less fortunate.
Well, I think I'm still way behind. Yeah.
By using
Thank you,
law,
but I
not
think
politics.
I'm still way behind. But yeah, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah, try what I can.
Yeah. Okay. Final question. What is the one philosophy or one principle of life that you live by? I know I didn't ask you this question before. Go ahead.
Okay. This got nothing to do with law, though. It has to do with living life to the fullest. That is my principle. I believe that however much, however busy you are, however much you say that you don't have time to do this, you don't have time to do that, I think you must always have time for yourself. And I think you must always take time off to do what you really like to do. And work is not it. The work is not what you like to do. There's always something else out there you want to do. But I think the problem is everybody is chasing, it's a rat race. Everybody wants to be number one. The winner of the rat race is going to be a rat. And, you want to be that rat. And everybody wants to be that number one person. And I don't live by that. I believe that there should be a balance in everything you do. And I think the most important thing is there's always somebody better than you out there. So you got to be humble. That's another thing that I think that's very important. So yeah, that's it. That's
wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much, Sreekant, for.
Yeah, I hope I've done enough. I don't know how much I've done.
No, I think you have covered MCO violation pretty. I mean, as well as it can be covered. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you. No, yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me on the show. Really, it's actually I've been following your show, so it's been quite interesting. I can't wait for Dato Mohanadas and Dato Mahendran on the Everest climb. I really want to see what. Yeah, actually, and I know you are an avid climber, so that's going to be quite interesting.
Actually, I got lucky with that. I just asked them, and then they agreed. So I'm really lucky with that.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's really good. Thanks for having me.
And you're also a hiker.
Yeah, well, not as big as you, but yeah. I try.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Take care.
Good night. I'll just say goodbye to the audience and I'll
okay, sure, no problem.
Okay, thank you so much.
Bye.
Good night.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, we have heard Sreekant Pillai. Okay. So, thank you all for watching. Thanks for the support. Thanks for the share. Stay strong, stay positive, and stay healthy. Good night. Thank you.